And last, but certainly not least, the Adventure Force Tactical Strike Sentry X2, a spring-action ball blaster, which is essentially their answer to a rival Kronos from NERF. And it's, well, we all know how I don't really appreciate the rival things all that much, but it is a pistol with an internal magazine, again, much like the Kronos, so this may be something that I'm very interested in. It says rounds compatible with all Adventure Force Tactical Strike ball blasters, the most standard NERF rival blasters. It says performance and FPS, but it doesn't say what numbers, unlike what NERF and stuff gives us. But it does come with 6 tactical strike rounds. It's got a magazine cover, a tactical slide, a trigger, and a trigger lock, which from my playing around, it's like basically nothing. It's probably just another one of those things where it's just a little piece of plastic that blocks you from pulling the trigger. Yep, that's exactly what it is. Figure that one out easily. Flip up magazine cover to load, holds 6 rounds. That's very interesting because that looks like it will be a lot better to load than a Kronos, and then you just pull it back to prime it. And that's about all it writes on the box. In fact, I don't even know if this one has little changeable plastic covers that we've gotten so used to. And it uses 2 different types of zip ties here. So we're gonna have to obviously open this thing up. Interesting, the blaster itself has the cover zip tied. That's a little peculiar. And you get a little tube of 6 tactical strike rounds. You get a single piece of paper for instructions, which, again, they've pretty much already told us how this thing's going to work. It does actually have jam clearing, which is interesting. I wonder if the slide has an auto return or anything like that. I remember briefly playing with this at End War, but I don't really remember anything about it. The grip is, I want to say it's a little comfortable. It's really short, and thus it fits my hand, but it's also extremely chunky, so I don't know about that. That does not feel very comfortable to me at all. I can't really get my hand far enough forward. I mean, it works, but you can see, like, I don't have very much trigger room right there. And if you have bigger hands, well, most likely you might rub against that. So I'm not entirely sure how that's going to work. It's got a tactical rail at the bottom that looks extremely weird. Unlike any other tactical rail I've seen, I don't think that's an actual rail and probably just a cosmetic piece. And then we can open it up. Oh, it's got a switch right there. So that is what covers it from... Is that even required, I wonder? I have this weird feeling that this is not a requirement for this blaster whatsoever, but we can take our 6 tactical strike rounds, or NERF rival rounds, whatever you prefer, and we just take it and load it by pushing them into the blaster, which is a pretty fast way to load this thing. A very heavy spring pullback, does not have any kind of forward return, and it did not fire. Okay, there we go. We got a round in there. Has a little bit of a pop to it. You see when exactly it loads a round. Kind of looks like it did it on the return right there, but ooh, what happened there? Well, you can double load it rather easily, but okay. Well, this might be a shocker. Again, I don't really like rival blasters all that much. I think they're cool, but they're definitely not my go-to thing. Unlike a Kronos, which has a spring-loaded magazine, this doesn't seem to do that. It has a follower in there, but it seems like it uses a little bit of mechanical, but mostly gravity-fed in order to make it load a ball into the chamber. And there's these extra little rounds right there. I wonder if I can actually pre-load a couple of extra rounds right there. I'm going to see if that does anything. But you have to kind of prime it back slowly to get it to feed around, which I don't know how I feel. And this slide is not very comfortable either. It's got a kind of like an iron sight protrusion popping up right there, which does work, but The biggest issue is that like you're putting your entire hand on here, so it gives you a little bit of leverage, but then you have this thing digging into your hand as well. Well, it is a reasonably inexpensive blaster. I think this was around $10, $12 when I bought it from my local Walmart. Open that up and we can just push those down in there. Well, that's kind of nifty cool. That's actually extremely practical. $71.8. Let's see if I can do this without losing the round. And that was 71.8 again. That was 61.6. That was 73.1. And I believe the Kronos did hit softer than the standard rival blaster at around 80 FPS. This one seems to hit, I'd say, around the low 70s. I'm gonna disregard the 60. Low 70s for this one, which is not that good, to be perfectly honest, especially for a rival thing, but it is a pistol. It's a bit bigger than your standard pistol as well, but this should be rather easy to holster as long as you can find something, especially if you can find something that fits into that grip right there. I kind of wish they would have sold this with a holster. That would have gone a long way. But it's perfectly symmetrical, it is chunky, and if you really need to have a rival sidearm or secondary, this would do you pretty good, because I still think I'm on the fence, because on a Kronos you can just, you know, push the rounds in there, you just open up the thing and push rounds in there. With this, I feel like this mechanism would be faster, especially if you basically just remove this door. You'd lose the extra 2 storage right there that you can just push in to get yourself a quick reload, but yeah, but it holds an extra round as well, so we are gonna have to shoot it out range to try to figure out exactly how it performs at that, make sure the rounds fly straight and everything like that, so let's go take it outside really quick. Yeah, I'm gonna go with the fact that the Adventure Force Sentry X2 is a solid pickup. It is a very typical, what you would expect, rival pistol. It is compact, it's roughly the size of a Kronos. It does hold additional ammo, so you can get 6 plus 1 in the chamber, plus 2 kind of laying in the tray as a backup. So you could fire all 7 rounds out of it as long as you keep it primed, and then you could easily shove these 2 in to give yourself a quick tactical reload of 2 additional rounds, which is a pretty decent capacity for something this big that's meant to shoot rival, but the ranges are unimpressive. Again, I have not modded this thing. It may have some decent mod potential because I assume the plunger tube and whatnot would be a fairly decent size considering how thick this blaster is. We'll compare it to a Kronos here. It's roughly the same exact, the triggers and everything are in the same places. They're very similar blasters, and what's interesting about that is this probably doesn't need to have a whole bunch of plastic right here since there's no magazine. And as long as you don't overfeed it with rounds and you prime it pretty gingerly, this thing will work rather well in terms of reliability. But if you try to prime it too fast, if you don't have a good rhythm, this thing will jam. I've never really had a Kronos jam on me that way. Maybe you have. This does feel really kind of clunky if I try to prime it quickly. That could just be my model though, I'm not entirely sure. So if you do have some mods in mind to maybe turn like a Kronos into a short dart pistol or something like that, the Kronos might be a better buy. But if you're wanting to upgrade for pure velocity when it comes to rival rounds, well, this might be a decent option, and I think this kind of loading mechanism is better in my opinion Again, that's my opinion, but that is of course my opinion, but let me know what you think about the Sentry X2 from Adventure Force or Primetime Toys Dart Zone down in the comments section below. I don't think it's a terrible blaster at all. I just think it's very middle of the road. It doesn't, the loading mechanism's cool, but yeah, let me know what you think, because I think I've kind of talked my head off. But other than that, I'm Walcom S7. Thank you very much for watching this video, and of course, I hope to see you in an entirely different one.
You gotta up,